Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to part 2 of my series on how you can enjoy your fountain pen hobby even more without spending money. Now, today what we're going to do is something that I've done for a long time in different forms. And people that have followed me, you've seen what it looks like when I have a comparison panel. But I have, from long before I started doing videos, I've done what I call an ink study. So that's what the tip for today is to do an ink study. And whether you have one sample or 16, and I'm not sure how many I have, but that number came into my mind, you can do an ink study. And even if you don't have more than one of the same color, you can start to, study and develop which ones you really like. And but today we're going to be doing several different gray ones, and I'm going to kind of try to walk you through what I do, because I have this tendency to order ink, but I don't want to order bottles of ink until and unless I know that I'm going to use that ink. And the color we're doing today is gray, and so this is very real for me. It's my favorite color to use in my bullet journal, but there are a lot of considerations because I still use the Leuchtturm paper. And it does, and I really prefer a medium or a broad nib, and so I've been really trying to narrow down what's going to work the best for me. I found some darker grays that are just excellent, but I really want to find that medium gray. And I kind of found the color, Lexington gray, but it bleeds through with some of my medium nibs. So it's fun though. It's really, really, really fun when you dive deep with an ink color and samples and the whole 9 yards. And I can seriously tell you that this has saved me from spending money, because there's so much to learn that I could continue for a very long time studying a color group or a particular sector of ink, like shimmer inks and things like that. And the more you learn and the more you get to know how those inks behave in your pens, it's just all that much better for you. So I'm on an actual no-buy all the way through the end of the year, with one exception, and that is the ink flight. So I got the ink flight this month, and I still plan to get the December one. But other than that, I'm not ordering anything until the new year. And I'm finding I'm having all these realizations as I do these kinds of things, like reorganizing my bottle collection, and the second part here, doing an ink study. So without any more of me, or you'll hear my voice, but without any more of this face-to-face stuff, let's go over to the desk, and I'm gonna just do my best to show you how I go about it and how much fun it is. So I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so let's get this unpacked. I've got several pens. I think there are 7 pens inked up with gray inks. In fact, there's a couple duplicates because I was comparing how the ink would look on the paper coming out of 2 different nibs, especially with one gray ink that I'm particularly tempted to put that on my long-term list for a bottle. So I've got my pens. I've got a Leuchtturm notebook, because that is definitely important for me to test out things on there. And I've done some of it already, and we'll do some more. And then this is the 68 GSM Tomoe River paper. So I've got those 2 things. I've got all my ink samples and my little bottle. This is all the gray ink, that I could round up that I've got. And it's a lot, really. It's a lot. These are the tiles that did not go on the panel. And these are the ink swatches on the Kohler index ring thing. Oh, I got my paintbrush. I thought I was going to be using that, and I might be. So, and just in case, we have the glass nib, and we have tabs, but I think I already used those. This is my little card made up of my 5 criteria for myself that I kind of like to keep in mind about ink. I have to be happy with the color, the brightness or the saturation. And in the case of gray, it is a challenge for me because we're talking about a gray ink, but I am aiming for that medium kind of gray. And I definitely don't want it to lighten up in the nibs that I use. And I'll show you in here what I mean by that. Because definitely when I get some of these grays into a fine nib, they just wash right out. So, and then I want it to flow very, very well. And that's me all the way through. I really like an ink that flows well. the thing is, I'm working with one right now that I'm super tempted on the bottle, and this is another one, Noodler's Lexington Gray, but that has a tendency to bleed through my bullet journal paper. It's almost enough to make me want to change my bullet journal paper because I love that ink so much, the sample that one of my pen friends sent. And this is a biggie, number 3, price and availability. I really want it to be affordable. I've been balking and balking at one of the ones that I really wanted. I really wanted this one, but it's $28 for the bottle. And you know, that would be a special treat, I guess, but you know, I just keep thinking about the price of the Noodlers and Diamine and some of the others. Even the Pilot ink, you know, I think it's like $20 right now. So that's one of my considerations. But I'm not meaning to make this sound like it's some big chore. It's the fun, it's the geeky part, it's the stuff we love, right? I want the ink to clean out easily. And you know, I've found that to be no problem with these. There is one shimmer ink among these, but it's definitely not going to be a bottle for me because, let's see, what is it? It is the one, it's the J.R. Bond, but for some reason it's not jumping out. I know it's here. It must be over here. Yeah, okay, Stormy Gray. So, and you know, I haven't had trouble cleaning Stormy Gray out of my pens, but that's too dark for me. It's a shimmer ink, so I'm not going to worry about that. As I'm evaluating these others, I am looking at it being easy to clean. And I like either shading or complexity. I really look for that. So that's where this one here really has gotten to me. This is one that I didn't think I'd like. And one of my pen friends sent me a sample and had mentioned several times that this was a really pretty ink. Well, I had seen it at that point only on a panel, and it kind of looks bluish, and I just sort of thought, what? I don't think so. But I have now put that in several different nibs, and it's in 2 of my pens right now, and it's in some of my scratchings. So, okay, you could tell I could talk all day on this, and I really want to get the tips that fall under this, you know, and this will be different for everybody. These 5 are just something I'm mentioning to you so you'll know where I'm coming from. So those are the 5 things I kind of look for, but we can lose our heads when we start ordering ink. I mean, come on, there's got to be at least, I know at least 2 or 3 other people on this channel that are like me that way. So I kind of keep this front and center so that I don't forget, you know, what I'm looking for. So what I want to say first is gather all your supplies. Well, I've just showed you most of what I've got gathered here. I mean, I've got, you know, paper towel too, and I've got water and Q-tips and all that kind of stuff. And this, I also want to mention that this study is not something you do in one sitting. This is something you can enjoy over a long period of time, especially if you have this many samples. But even if you have 2 or 3, imagine how long it takes to write with a sample and try it out in several of your different pens. That should indicate right there that if you really, really want to slow down and enjoy it, it could take you a couple of months and maybe even longer. Some people live on samples, and that is really what I'm headed for, because I seem to be someone who wants to try everything. So I don't think buying bottles really makes a lot of sense for me, except I thought it might for gray inks, because for at least one gray ink, because I use gray ink every day. I've actually emptied some of these, are almost down to the bottom. So gather all your supplies. We've done that tonight. And then ink some pens. Well, I've already done that. So I'm going to move this and show you what I have inked up. And then what we could do is just start doing a little bit of writing in here. I think that would be fun. And it would just show you that this is just one session of it, but it'd be fun. So this is a rickshaw. It's a hand roll that I won for my participation, or, you know, I was one of 3 that got one of these after one of Ink Journal's 30 Inks 30 Days. Isn't it pretty? It's got the Inktopuss on it. It's from Rickshaw, and it holds 8 pens. Right now it has 7 in it. So let's get them to stick out. I don't want to have them rolling all over, so I'm just going to get them to stick out, and then we'll start from top to bottom here. Yeah, because this isn't going to make a lot of sense to you probably, because this is all different pens pretty much. And I have just sort of selected which ones. But we're going to write with them, and then I'm going to talk about the panel, because you know me, the ink panel of ones that I end up choosing, that a lot goes into that. So I wanted to show you that. But let's open up this little Leuchtturm book here, and I'll show you. I had already started, but then something interrupted me, of course. So this is the one I was talking about that I'm so taken with, the Pilot one that has sort of a bluish cast to it quite often. It's difficult to see, and it looks different at different times, but that is this one right here. So that is, okay, that's still inked up in the TWSBI Eco Medium. And that has been really, really good. Actually, this one has behaved super well in my bullet journal. Let's look back and see. Yeah, it didn't bleed through at all, but if we get on the next page, I'll show you. I really did have quite a bit of bleed through. But now I have it in some different pens too. I have several different ones. And then I put that same one in the Diamond 580. So that is still here. See, I think it's that one. And I noticed a big difference. It gets darker in that nib. Those are the kinds of fun things that happen, really. And then this one, let's see, the TWSBI Go Medium. Okay, I had the Noodler's Lexington Gray in there. And I was seeing quite a bit of, not so much bleed through out of that one. It was trying really, really hard. But with the Diplomat Magnum, forget it. That's a wetter nib. And so it was going kind of right through. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you. All those dots are kind of bleed through. And because I use every inch of both sides of my paper in my bullet journal, I was thinking, darn, too bad I didn't have something in a fine nib. But I'm never happy with fine nibs, and it changes the colors of the ink. So, okay. So I think we'll go all the way over here. That way we can write with some, because some of these are new to me. Let's see, did I do this today? I did this today because I had a failure with another nib. It just didn't work out. So this is the Jinhao 992, and I've got the other Pilot ink. The two Pilot inks that I'm playing with right now, thanks to pen friend Nancy, are these two. And they're quite different, really. One of them, it kind of leans toward a more traditional gray, and then it's got that complexity with almost pink in it. And then this one, the Fuyu, the Old Man Winter, I think it's called. It's kind of leaning toward blue almost, and they're just really neat inks. But I wanted to be able to compare them, so I'm going to have to put that panel together in a minute, but I thought we'd just write with them just a little bit. If I can keep this under, you know, an amount that would work out anyway. So this is the kind of thing I super love doing. And this is a good nib to work with because it's a fine nib, but it really acts like a medium. And I know that, so I'm not worried about it too much. I know this would at least simulate what my TWSBI mediums would write. So Jinhao 992. With a fine nib. And this, I'm just going to put Pilot because I know Oroshizuku and I kind of know how to spell it. But this is the, whoops, I need to hold that right. Kira Same? I'm not really sure how you say it. But that's a really nice ink. Possibly I need to do a little nib work or check into that. Just put that in, so I'll need to make sure everything's lined up okay. Okay, but I'm looking at color. I'm looking at whether it'll bleed through. It almost does. It's got quite a bit of potential there. We'll have to just see. Yeah, and this is one of the things that I've been thinking of. Is maybe I'm just in the wrong notebook, you know. Who knows? Okay, but me and these Leuchtturm notebooks go back so far. So next is the TWSBI Diamond 580. Oh my, look how much darker that is. This is the other ink. Oh, this is, actually, this is totally different because this is diamond gray. Okay, we're going all over the place. TWSBI, I put D580 when I'm in a hurry. With a medium nib. Diamond gray. Huh. They spell, I'm not sure if they're spelling it with an E. I always spell it with an E, but wow, that's nice and wet. Oh my goodness, look at that. But that's behaving, that's not going through, so that's amazing. That looks nice. Okay, I'll try another one. At this rate, I won't get through all the things I wanted to say. Of course, it feels like it would take forever to say what I want to say, so. Okay, so number 3, another TWSBI Diamond 580, the same basic pen and the same nib. Medium nib. And this one I do have, I froze up because it said all and I thought I was still writing with the red one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's how I designate which pen it is. The all with the, this is the Old Man Winter, so this is the Pilot. I guess I'll put the actual name though because I'm not exactly sure that that's right. And I want to try. Okay, SYOGUN. I wish I knew how to say that. Okay, so it's actually really pretty. There was a difference in flow. The diamine was flowing quite, and it was wetter. So, I mean, you just notice that immediately because these are the same basic nib and everything. Okay. And it's funny because some of these I've been writing with for a week, but since I'm flipping from notebook to notebook, I need to see them kind of all in one place. Okay, this is the TWSBI Eco with a medium nib. I was on a real roll about medium nibs when I first got back into the hobby, so that is what I have, and this is the same ink. But this nib is a little bit drier than the Diamond 580. Not much. It's very close, but there is a difference. And they're different nib sizes and everything, so. I know because I've been using both of these in my bullet journal. I've had very little problems. It's the Diamond 580 that every once in a while there'll be a dot. But that's not enough to worry me. I don't have bleed through with either of those that truly bothers me. It's this next pen where I've been having a little bit of trouble in terms of bleed through. The Diplomat Magnum. I love this pen, but oh my goodness, it's a wet writer. Okay, and switching inks again. Okay, so this is the Diplomat Magnum. Okay, we've got a medium nib in there. And this is where I have almost the last of my Noodlers, Lexington Gray. It always dries a little bit lighter than it goes on. But it is darker. I mean, you can tell right away it's closer to Diamond Gray than the Pilot inks. But it goes on pretty wet out of this nib. And it bleeds through, and that's been such a disappointment because I just absolutely love the color. I love it. So, you know, I've just been trying to slow down and study the differences because here we have the same ink in a different pen. This is the TWSBI Go. It came out of the gate flying though. I'm afraid that's not going to be too good either. Huh? Okay, so we've got TWSBI Go, medium, Noodlers, Lexington Gray. Again, it is dark, but I like the ink a lot, and I guess I've just been trying to get around that. And the neat thing is that it just works so well in my cheap CVS caliber paper. I think that's, you know, and being a bottle being $12, that's tempting just to use with that. But see, those last two, both of the Noodlers, that it is bleeding through. So this is something I really need to pay attention to. Okay, The last, why is that the last? Oh, it is though. It's the Retro 51 Tornado in the ultraviolet. Yeah, ultraviolet. So let's go ahead and try this one. And this is Diamine Earl Grey. I didn't want to forget that ink because I do love it. And I thought maybe I'd test it out in a fine nib, which I don't usually do, but okay. Retro 51. See, it's not me to write with a fine nib. Tornado. Fine. And this is a nib switch that I did with a Heinz Custom Blue Storm pen. They have the same type of a nib unit that screws in. So I ended up putting the stub that came on this one, at least temporarily, onto the Heinz pen. Okay, so this is Diamine Earl Grey. Such a beautiful ink. And this is the one where I have the little bottle is about a little lower than half. So I have, thanks to a pen friend, been really enjoying that. And it's darker, and yet it's really, really pretty, and it looks nice in this paper. I like how this looks better than the Diamine Gray. I think that's too dark for me. It's so interesting. But this is the type of thing that I would do and always do and have been really working on a lot. But I'm not just doing this. I'm actually using it in my bullet journal. And I've had some bleed through, and that's okay. That's how I learn. But, okay, so that's really only number 2 where I said ink some pens. And of course, I inked them prior to this. And we tried out some stuff. But well, number 3 is write with them over time, which I've been doing, except for the 2, I think, that I inked this one today, but I have a lot of experience with Earl Grey. And then I inked this one today, but I had already had that in another nib and flushed it out already. I really like the Kurasame, but I just didn't want to get myself in a position where I was wanting to order 3 bottles of ink eventually, because that would sort of defeat this whole exercise here. So number 3, write with them over time. So that's what I've been doing. And then number 4, to collect your information about your lessons learned. Well, for some reason, for me, I need to see them all kind of together, the ones that I sort of narrow down. So let's do that, just like we do when we do an ink profile. Gee, I was going to run through the others that I've been exploring too. I guess if we have time, we'll try to do that. I'm going to try to put this back together. Let's see. Okay, I know I had Kurasame up here because it's really this one that has kind of taken my heart. And, okay. And the Noodlers. Okay. It's, you know, it's interesting to note, but some of these I've already, like I did the full extensive profile that I put on my channel of the Jacques Herbach Gray, this one, and I have yet to review this one, the Pure Pens Slate. Isn't that pretty? So there is just so much potential, especially between now and next year, which would, you know, we've got a few weeks left. We've got all of December and only a week and a half left of November. So this study has been really well timed for me, even though it's not a color. Okay, so the things I've been beginning to learn, this Noodlers has a lot of permanence to it. And it's also, it seems to come out of my pens nice and wet. It's just, it doesn't even hesitate on that dry CVS caliber paper. So it's an incredible ink, but you saw how I was showing you it. It just, darn it, there they are right there, here and here. They just want to bleed through in my preferred nibs because I really like the Magnum and the TWSBI medium nibs. I really do. They're good for my everyday lists and writing and everything. So, but that's still on the table. And then this one is it's just an amazing ink. Both of these are, and at one point when I was sort of, before I stopped myself, I was about to try to order a bottle of each, and I'm not doing that right now. So, Anyway, that was crazy. Moon Dust being a shimmer ink, that kind of puts it in line with that stormy gray. It's not one that would tempt me, but it's a gorgeous color. And the little sample will be handy for artwork and stuff like that. And I think I already covered the fact that I love this one, but something held me back, and it could be the price tag, but something makes me feel like that might not be the only thing, and I haven't figured it out yet, and let's see. I don't think I have a drop left of it, because I had 4 mils, and I just flew through that for that review that I did for the channel. I believe it's all gone, which is fine. I mean, that's great. I mean, that means I'm doing my job as far as, you know, testing them and using them. That's what they're for, really, the samples. Okay, Earl Grey, I really love it, but I really have felt like it was dark. And yet it isn't all that dark, not in that fine nib. So now we have another variable. I'll be wanting to get a medium nib and compare it directly with that fine Yowo nib. See how much fun this can be, and how far out it can go for you, as far as you want it to, really. Especially with this many samples. Which reminds me, I was going to run through even the ones that I didn't cover. So let's see if there's anything else. Now, I liked the Kaweco Smoky Gray, but let me show you the sample. This is the Live Note 68 GSM Tomoe River paper. And what I found was, as soon as I went down into the Lamy Fine Nib, which is so close to the other medium nibs that I write with, it just got too light. I didn't like that. I loved it in the broad nib, but I don't tend to go into the bullet journal on the Leuchtturm paper with very many broad nibs. I probably could with that ink, but there's just, I don't know, it makes my writing so much bigger that then my little lists, you know, are just not quite right. If that makes sense to you. It probably does, because with this 5mm dot grid, which is what I'm using, of course, in the Leuchtturm, I would rather write on a medium or a fine, but medium would be the sweet spot. Let's see, I had another page here too. Oh, here's the Diamine Earl Grey, showing it from broad down to Lamy Fine Nib, and that's quite nice on the Tomoe River paper. I really like it. It's maybe showing up just a little darker than it is because of lighting and so forth. Let's see, I did a whole bunch more too over here. Ooh, we might as well look at it. Let's see if I can get it to fit in there. So I had it in the Lexington Gray and the Diplomat. That just looks so good on this 68 GSM Tomoe River paper. But it bleeds through the Leuchtturm. Yeah, I was making notes on that a couple weeks ago. And same thing in the TWSBI Go. We just saw that though. And then this is nice because you can compare it on the Tomoe River paper right next to the Lexington Gray. You can look at that Old Man Winter one by Pilot. And then that's where you start to kind of pick up that, is it gray or is it something else? But it's still very, very nice. And look what happens in the broad nib. This is a broad Yowo nib. It darkens very nicely. It almost puts it up there with Earl Grey. There's so many variables. It just fascinates me, and I really like it. Oh, I was having a little bit of trouble. I put the very last remaining part of my sample of the gray ink, the special one that's only available at Goulet Pens. I put it in a fine nib, then I switched to the medium nib and the Lamy, but things weren't working out. I don't know whether maybe the feed was wet. Maybe I was having issues. Maybe I hadn't let it dry long enough. But I don't tend to have problems like that, except for when I'm running out of ink, because then I can't saturate and put the ink in, take it out and put it back in again. It's a lot different when you're down to your last tiny bit. You guys know what I mean. Like, let's see, where's my Lexington Gray? You know, when you get down that far in the sample, you're dealing with an ink syringe, or you're just gonna have to, I mean, yeah, you're done. And I refuse to give up on an ink usually, so. Okay, so I think that's about it, except for the extras I was promised. Oh, it's almost 30 minutes. Oh no, I don't even know if this will work. So the Caran d'Ache, I went so far as to look up the price. $37 for 50 mils, or you could get some 6 cartridges for $4.70 at Jet Pens. Ink Journal's Silver Bells. This is really pretty, and it's a semi-permanent, it looks like. It looks like it didn't want to move around much. You'd have to get the recipe on that one. Diamine Silver Fox was a bust. It's too light. Birmingham Allegheny River Twilight is beautiful. It kind of leans toward purple. It comes out of the nib dark. So, you know, it's a very unique ink. Ah, Birmingham Tarnished Nickel is gorgeous. It's quite dark, though, coming out of a nib. It's wonderful for artwork, too. And then this is new to me. KWZ Gray Lux was sent to me by a pen friend. It kind of looks black. It really does look black, but it's pretty. And then, of course, the J. Arbonne Stormy Gray, the 1670. You know, to me, that's too dark for what I'm looking for my bullet journal. And then Diamine Graphite almost looks green, but it's got some complexity that I'm not really sure if it should be in my gray inks or not, but there it is. Okay, I truly hope that I've inspired you in terms of what you can do with just one color group even. And this is gray. This isn't like purple where I'm jumping on the desk and going completely crazy. This is a very basic, like black for me, because I really want the gray to be my every single day checklists and notes in my bullet journal. So, but I thought I'd use it as an example because I think it does show what we can do and how we can just use every drop of our samples, get to know them and how they behave in the different pens. And it is one of my strategies for, you know, for keeping myself from purchasing is get into those ink samples that you have. And pen friends knew that I was looking for gray, so I am so super blessed with all these samples. I haven't purchased very many of those, just a couple myself. And it's just incredible, and I thank you all so much. I hope this has been useful. Please let me know in the comments, because I'm struggling a little bit with this series, probably because I'm just not sure whether what applies to me applies to everybody, because this is a weird situation, being a YouTuber, being a reviewer. I have stuff that I just wouldn't have if I wasn't doing this channel. So I'd like to keep it on the I'd like to keep lots of feedback coming so that I know where I might be able to most help you. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye for now.